The mashed potatoes were cold, and nobody seemed to care. I sat there, staring at the glossy sheen of butter that had hardened on my plate, while Harper leaned in toward her sister, whispering something that made them both giggle behind wine glasses. Her dad was telling another long-winded story about his golf swing like it was the State of the Union address, and her mother kept glancing at me the way someone might eye a roach they're pretending not to notice. And still I stayed. I smiled. I nodded in all the right places. I even complimented the green bean casserole, which tasted like it had been seasoned with printer paper. Because that's what I do. I survive these family dinners by blending in, shrinking myself down into a man-shaped decoration. But tonight wasn't like the others. Tonight, Harper came prepared. I should have seen the signs, the new dress she forgot to tell me she bought, the blowout hairstyle she only reserves for weddings or job interviews, the way she asked me 5 times if I really wanted to come. I thought she was nervous because her parents can be cruel. I didn't realize she was staging a public execution. She waited until the room got quiet. Right after the waiter cleared the plates, and everyone leaned back with their wine and satisfaction. That's when she set her glass down with a little clink, straightened her back, and said, "I've made peace with the fact that I outgrew this marriage a long time ago." Just like that. No build-up. No warning. Just confession by ambush. For a moment, the silence was thick. Confused smiles twitched across faces. Her mom tilted her head like a parakeet that heard thunder. Her sister beamed. Her father muttered something under his breath that I swear sounded like finally. And me? I stared at Harper. At the woman I used to think was just lost, just overwhelmed, just burnt out. I'd been so patient. So stupidly, loyally patient. I didn't say a word. I just stood up, pushed in my chair, politely, like a damn gentleman, and walked out of that house without taking my coat or my pride. And the part that burned the most? No one followed. She didn't even blink. I drove without a destination. Just kept going, headlights cutting through the black December cold while my thoughts chased each other in circles. Her words echoed louder with every mile. I've made peace with the fact that I outgrew this marriage. What kind of person drops a bomb like that between dessert and coffee, in front of her entire family, without a shred of hesitation? I didn't cry. Not at first. I was too numb. The kind of numb that makes you think you're fine, until you're gripping the steering wheel so hard your knuckles go white, and you realize your jaw has been clenched for half an hour. I ended up in a gas station parking lot 2 towns over, just sitting in the car with the engine running and a sad little Christmas song playing on the radio. I don't even remember which one. Just bells and fake cheer while my whole life split open at the seams. I stayed there for over an hour. No missed calls. No texts. Not even a half-hearted, "Where are you?" from Harper. She really meant it. She had planned that sentence, rehearsed it even. I could picture her practicing in the mirror, probably trying out different versions until she found the one that made her sound the most evolved. Outgrew this marriage. Like I was a pair of old shoes she wore too long out of pity. Eventually, I drove home. Our home. The little blue house I spent 6 years fixing up with my own hands. New roof, new sink, repainted the porch twice. I even carved our initials into one of the floorboards in the bedroom, like some teenager with a pocket knife. What a joke. When I walked in, the place was spotless, like nothing had happened. Her car was already in the driveway. She must have left right after me, probably feeling proud of her little speech, expecting me to come home with my tail between my legs so she could finish the job and call it closure. But I didn't go to the bedroom. I went to the garage. I sat there in the dark for hours, surrounded by paint cans, forgotten tools, and that damn shelf she begged me to build but never used. I kept thinking about all the nights I stayed up patching drywall while she scrolled through her phone, saying she was checking work emails. All the parties I skipped because she said we needed quality time, which somehow always ended with her asleep on the couch and me cleaning up dinner alone. And now, she wants to talk about growth? It wasn't growth. It was cowardice disguised as self-help. She didn't want to fix anything. She wanted to be praised for quitting. At around 3 a.m., I finally went inside. She was in bed, curled up on my side, like she owned the place. Like she hadn't just ripped the floor out from under me in front of her entire family. I stood there for a long time, watching her sleep. Part of me wanted to shake her awake, make her explain, beg for the truth. But I didn't. Instead, I turned around, went to the closet, and started packing. I didn't take much, just what I needed. A few shirts, my work boots, A pair of jeans. The photo of my late dog from when I was still living alone, back when peace didn't feel like such a foreign concept. She never woke up. I left the keys on the kitchen table next to a mug she never washed and walked out the front door without looking back. And still no message. No call. That's when it hit me. She didn't need to check if I was okay, because she never truly cared if I was. By sunrise, I was sitting in a rundown roadside diner with greasy vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like burnt hope. The waitress called me sweetheart, in that exhausted way people do when they've been up all night serving strangers with their own quiet tragedies. I must have looked like hell. I felt worse. I kept checking my phone. I don't even know why. Muscle memory, maybe. Habit. Conditioning. I kept thinking, she's going to text. Maybe not to apologize, but to say something, anything. Where are you? Come home. Even we need to talk. But there was nothing. Just the little digital void where a message should have been. I sat there for 3 hours, nursing the same cold coffee, going over everything in my head like a crime scene. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs. But no, I saw the signs. I just didn't want to admit what they meant. Like how she always found a way to compare me to her friends' husbands. The lawyer, the guy who just made partner, the one who buys surprise spa weekends and calls his wife, baby, in front of strangers. I was never flashy enough, never ambitious enough. I work with my hands. I come home tired, and I show love in small, quiet ways. Fixing the sink before she notices it's leaking, picking up the chocolate she likes when she's had a hard day, warming her side of the bed in winter. But I guess that kind of love doesn't photograph well for Instagram. And then there were the changes, the ones she didn't think I noticed. The way she always kept her phone on Do Not Disturb when I walked in the room. The sudden obsession with girls' nights, even though she used to hate going out. The gym membership she swore was about mental clarity, but came with brand new leggings and a personal trainer named Kyle who apparently only communicates via winking emojis. And me? I swallowed it all. Every excuse. Every vague answer. Every late night, where she came home smelling like a bar I'd never been invited to. I told myself I was being paranoid, insecure. I told myself this is what marriage looks like after a few years. It's normal. God, I was such an idiot. After the diner, I didn't go to work. I couldn't. I called in, told them I had a family emergency. That wasn't a lie, was it? A marriage dying in real time. That qualifies, right? Instead, I drove to a cheap motel on the edge of town. Cash only, no questions asked. The kind of place where the lights flicker when you plug in your phone and the blankets feel like they've been washed in sand. But it was quiet. And for once, I didn't feel judged for breathing too loud. That night, I finally turned off my phone. I couldn't stand looking at that blank notification screen anymore. I needed silence, not the kind Harper weaponized during our arguments, but the real kind. The kind that doesn't expect anything from you. And in that silence, I realized something I'd never had the courage to admit out loud. I wasn't afraid of losing her. I was afraid of admitting she lost me a long time ago. She just finally said it out loud before I could. But here's the twist. She thought I'd crumble. She thought I'd wait. She thought I'd sleep in the truck outside like some pathetic puppy waiting to be let back in. She had no idea what silence really looks like. By the second morning, something shifted. Not in her, in me. I stopped feeling like the victim and started feeling like the witness to a slow-burning fire I didn't set, but definitely ignored for far too long. For years, I'd been quietly accepting every burn, every cold shoulder, every time she rolled her eyes at my stories in front of friends or talked over me at dinner parties. I convinced myself that was just her way. But now, in this grimy motel room with buzzing light fixtures and a mini fridge that made dying animal noises every 10 minutes, I finally saw it for what it was. She didn't want a husband. She wanted a placeholder. And when that placeholder finally stood up and walked out, she didn't notice, because she never truly saw me to begin with. I turned my phone back on. Not because I missed her, but because I was curious. And there it was. A single message. Not from Harper. From her sister. Hey, you okay? She didn't mean it like that. Didn't mean it like that? No apology. No please come home. Just damage control. Classic Harper. Hide behind someone else. Let them handle the cleanup while she pretends nothing happened. I didn't answer. I left it on read. That was louder than anything I could have said. Around noon, I grabbed a coffee from a drive-thru and drove to the lake. There's this spot I used to go to before we got married. I hadn't been there in years. Back then, It was my thinking place, where I went to clear my head when life got noisy. It felt strange being back, like stepping into an old version of myself I didn't realize I missed. And that's when the calls started. First one, then 3 more. All from Harper. I didn't pick up. Not because I was trying to punish her, but because I didn't owe her anything anymore. She gave her grand declaration in front of her family like it was some motivational TED Talk, and now she was scrambling to backpedal. Too late. Then came the voicemails. The first one was light. Hey, just checking in. Kinda weird not knowing where you are. Call me? The second was less casual. Seriously, Emery. This isn't funny. You're being dramatic. Can we just talk? By the third, her voice had cracked. I didn't mean for it to come out like that. You're twisting it. Please come home so we can talk like adults. I'm freaking out here. Oh, now you're freaking out? Now that the man you claimed to have outgrown has actually left? I didn't respond. I just sat there on that cold wooden bench by the lake, watching the water ripple in silence. And for the first time in years, I felt still. Not happy, not healed, but still, like I didn't have to chase someone's love anymore. And while I sat there in that stillness, I thought about the 100 little moments I had ignored. The way she always turned her body away from me in bed. How she laughed harder at other men's jokes. How she used to reach for my hand when we crossed the street, but stopped sometime last year and never did it again. None of those things felt big at the time, but they were. They were her slowly pulling away, while I stayed still, hoping she'd turn back. But she didn't. Not until I was gone. When I finally left the lake, I had 17 missed calls. All from her. No more from her sister. No more casual check-ins. Just Harper. Spiraling. And I realized something else as I drove back to the motel. I wasn't running from her. She was chasing the version of me she thought would never leave. That night, she showed up. I heard the knock before I even saw the car. It was soft at first, like maybe she wasn't sure if she wanted me to answer. I didn't move. Just stared at the chipped motel ceiling, heart hammering against my ribs like it was trying to escape the room. The knock came again, harder this time, followed by her voice, muffled, desperate, rehearsed, and still somehow wrong. Emery, I know you're in there. Please. We need to talk. We. That word hit me sideways. Now we need to talk? After she stood up in front of her entire family and declared that I was a phase she had outgrown like a part-time job in college, now it's a we problem? She kept knocking. I didn't mean to say it like that. You caught me off guard. It was supposed to sound strong, empowered. I wasn't trying to humiliate you. I could hear her pacing on the sidewalk. Her voice got shaky. Just open the door. Please. I've barely slept. I didn't expect you to just disappear. That wasn't what I wanted. That last line stuck with me. Not what she wanted. That's all it ever was with her. What she wanted. What made her feel powerful. What made her look independent and admirable in front of her shallow, corporate family. She never thought for a second what it would feel like for me to sit at that table, surrounded by people who never respected me, and hear my wife announce that I was some emotional training wheels she was finally ready to toss aside. And now she was here, crying outside a cheap motel at midnight, probably hoping I'd be the same spineless doormat who used to apologize just to keep the peace. But something had changed in me the moment I walked out of that dinner. I felt it growing, piece by piece. Every hour she stayed silent afterward, every message that didn't come until I broke the silence. I stayed in bed. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I let her knock and call my name one more time like it was some sacred chant that used to bring me running. But not this time. Not again. Eventually, she left. The headlights faded. The engine revved. And just like that, she was gone. I stared at the door for a long time after that. Part of me expected her to come back, pound the door like in the movies, scream through tears, and confess every lie, every half-truth, every way she'd been slowly detaching herself from our life, while I bent over backward to keep it all stitched together. But no, Harper wasn't built for confession. She was built for control. And when control slips through her fingers, she doesn't chase, she recalibrates. The next morning, I woke up to an email. Subject line, can we meet for breakfast? As if this was a scheduling conflict. As if my heartbreak could be penciled in between Pilates and errands. No apology, no depth. Just an offer to talk like none of it had happened in front of 10 people and a creme brulee. I didn't reply. Instead, I booked another 2 nights. Paid in cash. No forwarding address. No note. She wanted the last word in front of her family. She got it. Now, She could sit with it. 2 days passed. No more knocks. No more calls. Just the silence she once used like a weapon, now turned against her. It was strange how quickly the ache in my chest started to feel more like relief. I hadn't realized how heavy things had been until I'd stepped outside of them. That house, that marriage, her constant mood swings masquerading as depth. I had been suffocating in slow motion for years, calling it love because I didn't know any better. But what happened next still caught me off guard. I had gone out early that morning to grab coffee. Not from the motel lobby. That sludge was an insult to caffeine, but from this little roadside cafe run by a guy named Mitch who knew how to make strong coffee and shut up about politics. I was halfway through my second cup when I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was a screenshot. At first, I thought it was a mistake, maybe a scam or some spammy text. But no. I opened it, and there she was, Harper, sitting in what looked like a bar, her hand on the thigh of a man I'd never seen before. He was leaned in close, whispering something in her ear. She was laughing. Too hard. The kind of laugh that wasn't casual. The kind of laugh that had intention behind it. Beneath the image, one line. You deserve to know what she's been doing while pretending to be heartbroken. No name. No follow-up. Just that. I stared at the photo for a long time, my thumb hovering over it like if I pressed too hard, the whole thing might shatter. Part of me wanted to delete it. Pretend I hadn't seen it. Pretend she hadn't already moved on while I was still sitting in motel silence, wondering if I had overreacted. But deep down, I already knew. I knew the signs, the distance, the late nights. I knew she wasn't texting her sister at 11 p.m. I knew the gym sessions weren't about mental clarity. And still, seeing it, the proof, made something snap. Not in anger, not in heartbreak, but in understanding. Harper hadn't made a mistake at that dinner. She had delivered a speech. A rehearsed performance. She wasn't panicked because she lost me. She was panicked because I didn't stick around long enough to keep playing my role in her carefully curated narrative. The loyal, boring husband she could quietly betray while still looking like the strong, empowered woman who tried her best. That picture ruined her timing. She wanted to control the breakup and the story afterward. She wanted to say, he couldn't handle my growth, and have her friends nod and say, you were too much for him anyway. But now, with that photo, the truth was out. At least to someone. I thought about sending it to her. Thought about replying with just the screenshot and no words. But then I remembered the way she didn't even flinch when I walked out. The way she said we need to talk like I was the one who owed her something. And I realized I didn't need to expose her. She was already unraveling on her own. Later that night, I got a second message. Same number. This time it was a short video. Her. At the same bar. Same guy. Except this time, they were kissing. Sloppy, messy, in public. The kind of kiss that doesn't happen unless you've already convinced yourself you're single, or never respected the commitment in the first place. This time, I did reply. Thanks. I won't be going back. I blocked the number right after. Whoever sent it, maybe a friend, maybe someone she hurt, they'd already done what needed to be done. I sat there in the motel room, the TV on mute, the city buzzing faintly outside, and I felt something unexpected. Peace. Not the fake kind I used to chase, the real kind. The kind that comes when you finally accept that some people never wanted to love you. They just wanted to be loved by someone too loyal to leave. Harper didn't lose me at that dinner. She lost me the moment she mistook silence for weakness. I didn't hear from her again for another 2 days. And then suddenly, like some internal alarm finally went off, she came alive. Not with regret, not with apology. With panic. Raw, clumsy panic. First, she sent a long text. Too long. One of those messages where someone tries to rewrite history by burying you in carefully chosen words that sound sincere but never actually say anything. She called me unreachable. Said she felt blindsided by how quickly I gave up. Claimed that the dinner table comment had been a metaphor, and I had taken it out of context. She wanted to meet. Said we owed it to ourselves to process everything in person like adults. I didn't reply. 6 minutes later, another message. Then 10 more over the next hour. She switched tactics quickly. From concerned to angry. So you're just going to ghost your wife? After everything I've done for us? You're proving exactly why we were stuck. You're acting like a child. I watched the messages pile up like junk mail. Every one of them reeked of desperation wrapped in control. That was always her thing. She never knew how to just feel something. She needed to manage it, narrate it, perform it. Then she tried to weaponize sympathy. A message from her sister came through. Harper's a mess. She hasn't eaten. She's not sleeping. Can you please just talk to her? Oh, now I was supposed to save her from the fallout of her own performance? I didn't reply to her sister either. That night, she called me 12 times. The next morning, I got the email. This time, the subject line was different. Please don't let this be the end. Inside was a wall of text, all lowercase, like she had typed it at 3 a.m. from the floor of our bedroom. She rambled about missing my presence, about how the silence was making her question everything, about how the guy at the bar meant nothing and was just a dumb mistake made in a spiral. She admitted the photo, the one I never even mentioned, and said it was just one night, and she didn't expect to be seen. That line stuck with me. She didn't expect to be seen. And there it was. The truth. She wanted freedom without accountability. She wanted to outgrow the marriage privately, cheat quietly, and then, when she'd collected enough emotional ammo, leave gracefully on her own terms, with sympathy and validation. She never planned for a version of me who would walk away before she gave the final speech. I realized something while reading that email, and I reread it 3 times just to be sure I wasn't imagining it. She never once said she loved me. Not in the message. Not in the voicemails. Not in the barrage of texts. It was all about the fallout. About control. About how I made her feel. Not once did she ask how I was holding up. Not once did she say, I miss you. Just, I miss the way things were. And the truth was, so did I. But the difference between us? I missed the version of us that was real. She missed the version she could manipulate. I didn't reply. Instead, I packed up my things, checked out of the motel, and drove to a small cabin a friend from work had offered me months ago. Back then, I thought I'd never need it. I remember laughing, telling him, why would I need a place to escape to? He just shrugged and said, sometimes, man, the storm doesn't hit where you expect it to. Now, I understood exactly what he meant. And as I drove away from that motel, away from the city, away from her, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, my life returning to me. She wanted me to open the door. She just never expected that once I walked through it, I'd never come back. The cabin wasn't much. 1 bedroom, slanted porch, the smell of pine in every corner. It had no TV, spotty cell service, and creaked like an old man when the wind hit it just right. But it was mine for now. No eggshells to walk on. No biting my tongue. No pretending to be smaller just to keep someone else comfortable. For the first time in what felt like forever, I woke up and didn't feel like I was losing a game I didn't know I was playing. I spent the next few days in silence. Not the cold, punishing kind Harper used to deploy during arguments, but the healing kind. I read old books, took long walks through the trees, drank bad coffee on the porch, and watched the sun climb over the hills like it had somewhere to be. It sounds cliché, but after the chaos, stillness felt like medicine. And then something unexpected happened. A friend from work, Nick, one of the guys I thought barely remembered my name, texted me. Said he heard I'd taken some time off, and asked if I was okay. I told him, vaguely, that things ended. He replied with something that surprised me. Good. You were disappearing, man. Glad to see you waking up again. Waking up. That stuck with me. I hadn't realized how far I'd sunk into that quiet, gray version of myself. The one who just went along with everything to avoid conflict. The one who thought loyalty meant self-abandonment. The one who thought love meant tolerating distance. And the sad part? I thought that was normal. I thought that was marriage. But it wasn't. Not really. One afternoon, while fixing a broken hinge on the cabin door, I got another message. Not from Harper. From a woman I barely knew. Rachel, an old co-worker of mine who had transferred to another department before I left. We had always gotten along in that quiet, work break room kind of way. She said she'd heard I was going through a rough patch and offered to bring up some groceries next time she passed through the area. I said yes, more out of politeness than anything else. She showed up the next day with coffee, a bag of essentials, and that calm energy I hadn't felt in years. Not performative, not chaotic, just real. We sat on the porch for hours, talking about nothing. I told her the truth about what happened, not the sugar-coated version. She didn't flinch, didn't try to fix it, just listened. When she left, she smiled and said, "You're not broken. You're just finally out of the wrong place." And I realized she was right. Harper did me a favor that night at the dinner table. It didn't feel like it at the time. It felt like betrayal served with wine and polite applause. But in hindsight, she set me free, not out of kindness, but because she was done pretending. And as cruel as it was, it forced me to stop pretending too. I never went back. Never replied to the last email she sent, the one where she said, "I think we rushed things. I just needed space." She didn't need space. She needed an exit, and she didn't expect me to take it before she was done decorating the story. Instead, I rebuilt. Quietly, patiently, honestly. And months later, Rachel and I were still talking. Still slow. Still simple. No games. No power struggles. Just two people who meet each other where they are, not where they're trying to impress from. So yeah, she said one sentence at a dinner table and thought I'd break. Instead, I finally breathed. Let her tell her version. Let her spin it how she needs to. But I know the truth. She lost someone who would have done anything to love her right. And I found someone who never asked me to beg for love in the first place.